Tolkien has been in the limelight lately thanks to Rings of Power. I figured now is the time to talk about one of my favorite bands, and that band is Summoning from Austria. These guys have been doing Tolkien-inspired metal since well before the Peter Jackson movies in the early 90s. In my opinion, they have what I would like to call a Tolkien sound. It's kind of weird saying that about a black metal band, but as much as people like to call Tolkien high fantasy, and it is, I do believe there's also some dark fantasy in there, and these guys tend to explore that side a little bit more. This isn't happy elf and hobbit music. It's definitely more in line with some Mordor music or something you'd hear in like Morgoth's throne room. This is not your typical black metal. It's not blast beat, tremolo picking, ultra fast, blasphemic metal. It's more of a slowed down, more mid paced. The guitars are well into the background of the audio mix with the synth and the vocals at the forefront and the drum track in the middle. They use a drum machine. They haven't used a real drummer since their first album. I think the quality of that drummer turned them off of using a real drummer for, well, ever, because no offense to that guy, he was kind of bad as far as the drumming goes. You get 8 tracks of pure sonic epicness. Everything's wrapped up in such an atmospheric way. Like the album's a good hour, if not a little bit more than that. The tracks are relatively lengthy. This band makes absolutely perfect long drive music. Because of this band, another band out of Austria was spawned, and that band, with a couple of the same members at the time when it was formed, was a band called Abigor. Also, very, very good black metal. It's a little bit more stereotypical black metal, even though it's done in their own way. It's still really good. This album, Let Mortal Heroes Sing Your Fame, has got to be one of my favorite albums in recent years. And by recent years, I mean the past 20. I hate to use the term perfection, but it's almost as close to perfect as you can get for an album. In particular, with this album, they've really started finding their groove a lot more so than the couple albums prior to this. The sound is a lot fuller, it's a lot richer, more layers of synth to go along with the Nazgul like vocals and the almost melancholy sounds. It's still metal, it's still black metal, and it's very good. Some of the notable stands out are South Away, The Mountain King Returns, Ruins of Power. This band has been around for quite some time. They're moderately popular, I think mostly because of their unique sound, more so the fact that they are Tolkien oriented. I mean, these guys are definitely Tolkien fans. They did a track on one of their other albums completely in the dark speech. I would have to definitely say they do know what they're talking about, and they are definitely fans of Tolkien's work. This album utilized samples from a BBC radio reading of The Lord of the Rings. They picked some very choice ones that fit the songs that they're in perfectly. And it's not something that loops through the entirety of the track. It's just certain sections of that track will have bits of that reading in the background, or in some cases, they'll fade out a song with it or open a song with it. For example, they did a song that wasn't on this album, but it was recorded at the same time called Saruman. And it starts off with that part of the BBC reading of Gandalf banging on Orthank's door, calling for Saruman. These guys, if you're into Tolkien, if you're into metal, and in particular black metal, even if you're not into black metal, you should still give them a listen to, because they do have one of the most unique sounds within the metal scene itself. I give this album, I would have to say, like a 9 out of 10. There's not a bad track on it. The production is very good, very solid, very full sounding, and it's just epic. There's no other way to describe this as other than atmospheric and epic black metal. So if you like these guys, check out this album. Check out everything but their first album, Lugbers. There's a couple cover albums out there that other bands have done as tributes. You know, these guys have at least 5 to 8 albums at this point. Probably closer to 8 to 10, to be honest. They've had a nice burst of albums over the years, and then due to one of the members having some health problems, I believe a heart attack was involved, things slowed down a bit, as understandably so. But they're slowly coming back to form, and whether they continue to keep making music remains to be seen, but I hope they do. They are one of my favorite bands, and I hope you guys give them a chance and check them out.